Good afternoon, everybody. And I came into the classroom a little earlier today just to make sure that it was set up and that we didn't have any problem with the live stream. So for today, we have our ESOL class for Woodfield. So good afternoon. And I'm going to begin by saying hi. Now, if you remember, when we're in the classroom, I can't actually see your picture. I can't see who you are in the classroom, but you can see me. So if you're in the classroom, please say hi. That's really good. Thank you. How are we all today? Well, as the days go on and our children have lots that they need to do and we have lots that we need to do, some of you find that you might be having to work like teachers with your children as well as continue with cleaning the house and maybe doing the cooking. So where I am, my children are all grown up, so I don't have to do any extra work for them, but there's still cleaning, cooking, looking after the garden to do. So plenty to do. So please say hi when you get into the classroom. And today we're going to look at instructions. So today's lesson is going to be about instructions. And we're going to look at how we write recipes because Doncaster is putting together a recipe book. And it would be really great if we could have some of your recipes to put in that. So for instructions, I'm going to give you some instructions. If you're in the live classroom, please write your name. If you're not in the live classroom and you're watching this as a recording, you won't be able to do that for me to see. If you're in the live classroom, please write hello to everybody, and you can see that I've written hi as well. If you're watching this as a recording, you won't be able to do that. And if you're not sure about instructions to do that, you should be able to see a box on your screen that uses the words live chat. And live chat is where you can text just like you would on a phone. So I've written hi, and if you're in the classroom, please write your name and write hello to everyone. Hello, good to see you. So today for the live chat, at any time you can write down what you want to ask, if you've got any questions about the work, or if you want to say anything at all. So let's continue. Instructions tell you how to do or make something. So we call it instructive text. And we're going to be reading instructions for text as well as writing instructions. So I use the phrase instructive texts. Text means anything that's written down. So that could be like a book or a newspaper or a leaflet. That's the text. And instructive, it just means that leaflet or that book is telling you something to do or make. So I use the phrase instructive text. To begin with, it tells you how to do something step by step. So when I ask you how you make some of the lovely things that you cook, I can't actually copy what you're making unless I know step by step. That is one bit at a time, and it has to be in the right order. So we start our instructions off with what some of your children will learn as bossy verbs, but our adult word is imperative verbs. These are commands that start off telling you what to do. And sometimes we use pictures or diagrams to help. So by the end of this lesson, we're going to be looking at writing our own instructive text, and it's going to be a recipe. So recipes do use imperative verbs. They are step by step because I need to know when to put it into the cooker, how long to leave the mixture. And it's entirely up to you if you want to use pictures to show what you do. And here's an example of an instructive text, and we see this all the time in our real classrooms because it's fire evacuation, how to get out of the building. So we can see it tells you how to do something, how to get out and where to go. Step by step, so if you have a look on the left hand side there, you might not be able to read the steps, but I can see that each stage there's a bit of writing that's telling me what to do next, and we call that step by step. And it uses pictures or diagrams because you have this really big picture here of the whole area and thinking about where you are, so you can look at the different fire collection points so you know where to go. And it also uses symbols because I noticed over here you have a symbol to show you an exclamation mark. These are the important step-by-step instructions. A symbol to represent fire, what do you do when you hear the alarm, and a symbol of a person moving through a doorway, and we use the word evacuate the building. So it does also use bossy verbs, the imperative verb, and sometimes that's the negative when you're looking at fire evacuation, because it will say things like do not run, do not use the lift, and obviously our verb is use, but we're saying do not use. So there are always bossy verbs at the beginning of the sentence. So now we're going to have a look at, do you know the phrase make a cake? And do you know that sometimes for instructions we say run a, and Shinny is here today. Hi Shinny, I'm going to write, how are you? How are you today? So good to see Shinny in the classroom. How are you today? And sometimes we make spelling mistakes when we're writing on text, so don't worry because I do exactly the same thing. How are you today? Hi Shinny, good to see you. So looking back, we're thinking, when do we say make something and when do we say run something? So I'm going to show you some pictures, see if you can think, oh yes, we say make that or we say run that. Let's have a look. So first of all, what's that? Well, I think that's somebody pouring some tea. So would I say run a cup of tea or would I say make a cup of tea? Think about that. Oh, Shinny, it's good to see that you are well. Thank you. And you, yes, that's a lovely way when you're writing about asking people how they are, when you say like Shinny has and you. So I'm going to write I am well, and sometimes I write thank you for asking, and I can see that Sarah's in the classroom. Good to see you, Sarah. So Sarah, how are you? So I'm going to write good to see you, Sarah. How are you? and sometimes you're a bit quicker than I am. Yes. So good to see you, Sarah. How are you? So make a cup of tea, I think, don't you? Make a cup of tea. What about the next picture? So the next picture is actually, let me see. I've got some bread there and some butter spread on the bread. And I've got cucumber slices. And this is cheese. So there's cheese placed on this bread with cucumber on top. Oh, I think this one is going to be make a cheese and cucumber sandwich. Actually, did you know that's one of my favourite sandwiches? Cheese and cucumber sandwich. So we have some more comments in the classroom. Kurdstan, hi, how are you? Thank you, Sarah, for telling me you're fine. It's always good to know that you're in the classroom and I can ask you, how are you? Because it's a difficult time for us all to be stuck at home. I shouldn't really use that word, stuck, should I? It means I can't go out. But do you know, there's something really nice about being at home with your family. So I quite like that bit. So we have make a cup of tea, make a sandwich. I wonder what we say run with. Let's have a look at what we say run with. What's this picture? Oh, I see. That's a bath. And these are the taps. So we call these mixer taps. So they're not two separate taps. You've got the taps linked together, and then you've got a section in the middle that you can move between hot and cold. So if you have these types of taps in your bathroom, or some of you may have it in your kitchen, they're called mixer taps. And it means if you want to have the hot or cold water, you can use the same system running through. Look, the pipes. And in my bathroom, where we have mixer taps, this attachment here allows me to move between using a shower head and using the actual taps. So here, where you've got this pipe, I've actually got a shower head coming out of there. And it allows me to use the hot and cold water. If I turn it to the left, the water comes out of the taps, and if I turn it to the right, the water comes out of the shower head. So we don't say make a bath, we say run a bath. Will you run a bath? I know it doesn't really make sense, does it, run a bath? But it does if you think that what we're really saying is, can you run the water into the bath? Yes, Shinny, you're right. We are stuck at home, all of us too, which is a bit sad, but we'll get through this together. And I think that's the important thing, working together. And it'll be great that every week we'll see people in the classroom. So if you're wondering, why do we say make a cup of tea and run a bath? It's because what we're really saying with run a bath is, can you run the water into the bath? But we say run a bath. So if you've got an instruction text and it's about what to do in a fire action, it's usually set out in steps in this way, and sometimes there's a use of colour. You can see the symbols on the side will show you what to look for. If you're thinking, who do I call? You can quickly see the telephone symbol and you know what it tells you to do. If you're thinking, what shouldn't I do? You look at this symbol that's a red circle with a red diagonal line through it, and that's telling you what to not do. You mustn't stop and pick up your belongings if you're in a fire. So we use the word operate. What does that word mean, operate? Well, yes, Shinny, of course, you do enjoy being in this class. I'm glad that you do. And do let me know if there's something you want me to add, or if there's a particular subject you want me to do in class next week, and we will get that sorted. But we're looking at imperative verbs. So imperative verbs, these are the verbs we use at the beginning of instructions. Children call them bossy verbs. And this one, operate, it means to make something work. So call, that's another imperative verb. Leave is an imperative verb, and that reminds me you can leave the classroom at any point that you want to. You can come back into the classroom. You don't have to stay here for the whole time of the lesson, and you can look at the recording. And report, that just means who you're going to tell it to. And do not stop. So your imperative verbs are at the beginning of your sentences if you write instructions. Do not use. And this is because we have fire instructions that our imperative verbs also use the negative do not. So this is an instructive text. Can you see what this one is? This one is for those of us who dye our hair. So if you're like me and you're 60 years old, or the whole of my hair is actually grey, but I don't like having grey hair, so I'll use a dye to put some extra colour in it. And this gives you instructions that are numbered, so you know exactly what to do. And that's quite important. If you're using dye on your clothes or dye on your hair, you need to know how long do you need to leave it on for. This is what we're looking at for today's work, because this is a recipe. It's an instructive text. You can see there is a title. This one is cornbread, how to make cornbread. So first you have a title, next you have ingredients, and last you have instructions. And in a recipe we always have imperative verbs at the beginning of each instruction. Look how short those sentences are. Mix together the dry ingredients, full stop. Short sentence, begins with an imperative verb mix, telling you what to do. Next sentence, beat together the egg, milk and oil. Again, it begins with an imperative verb beat. Then we have add, pour, cook. So when you look at recipes, look at the beginning word, because that will give you an idea about what an imperative verb is. And you know, I think that you make some really lovely things in your own countries, and you do that also whilst you're here in England. And it's something that English people like myself don't know how to cook, but we try it and we think, that's very nice. So the way to share that with us is to write a recipe, and I'll know if your recipe is any good because you'll be able to say, Jane, can you use the recipe to cook this? And I'll have a go. But do you know, I don't think my cooking will be as good as yours, because you're all very good with cooking those things. So the language of recipes we can divide into three things really. We have weight and measure. So when I was very young and my mother used to cook all the time, and I would say to her, how much of that do you need to add? And do you know, she was such a good cook. She never measured anything. She just said, oh, it looks like this. And she knew exactly by looking at it how much she needed to cook and what ingredients she needed. But for our recipes, we need to know what's the weight, what's the measure. Are you using a pint of something? Are you using teaspoon or tablespoon? Because they're classed as a measure. And in recipes as well, we have the language for mixing, the words that tell you how to put the ingredients together. And we also have the language of cooking. So not everything is cooked in the oven. So it's quite important that we look at the language of recipes. So what we're going to do next, I'm going to put a word on the screen, and I want you to decide in your head which category, by category we mean which type, yes, which category does this word belong in? Is it a weight and measure? Is it something to do with mixing? Or is it something to do with cooking? And then I'm going to place the word into the correct box so you can work out for yourself, did you get that right? You don't have to write it on the live chat, but it is really important you ask yourself before you look at the answer, what do I think? And you know, sometimes we have to guess. If you're not sure, you've got 3 boxes to guess from. So let's begin. The word is grill. Do you think this is a weight and measure word, a mixing word, or a cooking word? Let's have a look at the answer. It's a cooking word. So your next word is kilogram. I don't know if you can see that. So kilogram, is this a weight and measure word, a mixing word, or a cooking word? Let's see. It's actually a weight and measure word. Your next word, stir. What do you think? Which category do you think this one goes into? Weight and measure, mixing, or cooking? We're getting quite good at this now. It's a mixing word. So, whisk. When we're looking at whisk, which category does the word whisk go into? It's actually a mixing word. Fry. Oh, I bet you can all do this one. It's quite easy. Fry. What are you doing if you fry? Are you measuring something? Are you mixing something? No, I think you are cooking something. So that's a cooking word. Tablespoon. This is quite interesting because when we think of weight and measures, we think of kilograms or pounds. Ah, well done. Yes. Thank you, ladies, for saying what you think that is there. What do you think about tablespoon? Tablespoon. What's tablespoon going to be? Is it going to be weight and measures? Is it going to be mixing? Is it going to be cooking? I see that you all got the others right, so that's excellent. Let's look for tablespoon then. Yes, it's a weight and measure. So well done, ladies, for saying that that's weight. Well done, Sarah. That's good. And Shinny, yes, it's a weight word. Now, it's really important. And Kurdstan, fantastic. It was a good answer. It's really important when you're looking at English texts. Do you remember I said text was something that's written down? So it can be a book or a leaflet or a newspaper or anything written. It's really important that you look at this word language. The language of recipes means that we only use certain words for recipes. We don't necessarily use them in other types of writing. So here we go again then. We have 3 categories: weight and measure, mixing, cooking. Are you ready? Our word is fold. That's a bit harder. What do you think? Fold. Is it weight and measure? Is it mixing? Or is it cooking? And I'm looking at your answers on the live chat and I can see that you've got all of the answers correct up to now. Can you get this one correct? Yes. Well, fold is a mixing word. Well done, Sarah. Yes, it is. It's a mixing word because you're folding. Perhaps if you've got flour and butter, you're folding them together. Excellent, Kurdstan. Yes, that's good, Sarah. Yes, I see you have a good laugh there. Yes. Did you get it right? Oh, you did. Yes. So what about the next word? Because you could do that one. Fold's going into mixing. Boil. Oh, I think this is too easy for you. Boil is a cooking word. Pint. That one should be easy if you could get all of the others. Pint is a weight and measures word. Aha, okay then, let's make it a little bit harder. What about combine? Can you do that one, Sarah? Combine. What type of word is the word combine? Okay, Shini? Combine. Is it weight and measure? Is it mixing? Or is it a cooking word? Do you think it's a cooking word? Let's have a look to see what the answer is. Combine. It's actually a mixing word because we use the word combining. You're combining the ingredients. It means to put them all together. So well done for that. Litre, that's quite easy. You don't know, Sarah? Well, for combine, we use the noun combination. Combination means a number of things together. So if you use the verb combine, it just means put things together. So if I combine my flour and my oil and my butter, or if I put them all together in the same bowl, sometimes we use the word combination. Okay, thank you. So litre, that's an easy one. I think that's going to be a measure. Yes, it is. And bake. Oh, come on, ladies, you know this one. Yes? What is bake? Bake is a cooking word, as we often say that. We talk about baking cakes. Yes, baking cakes. Well done, Sarah and Kurdistan, for recognising that litre is weight. That's really good. So we're going to move on. So well done for that information then. It was absolutely brilliant that you all wrote up. Yes, you were right, Sarah. Good. You all wrote up on the screen there in the live chat what you thought the answers were. Fantastic. So now we're going to have a look. Are we all okay still? Yes, I hope so. I'm still okay. Tell me if I need to slow down, because we're going to move on now to instructions, because we're going to look at how do you write instructions. So first of all, remember, instructions tell you how to make or do something. So we're going to look at how to write instructions. So for number one, the first thing you have to do is you have to do the activity. So if you're going to write a recipe, I want you to write a recipe about something you already cook, not something that you don't cook. Because if you do the cooking already, you know the order in which you have to do that. So number one, do the activity, or cook or bake the thing that you're doing. So for number two, jot down each step. So when we use the phrase jot down, we mean write down. So if you jot something, it's another word for write. So write down each step that you followed to do that cooking. And make a list of things you needed. That's your ingredients. And then turn your steps into short sentences, because that's how you get the piece of writing. And when you've done that, you will have some instructions. So here's the organisation of your instructions. You need a title, how to make something. You need to say, what do you need? That's your ingredients. Maybe you will use pictures with labels. I don't. If I'm writing a recipe, I just write the recipe. I don't do pictures. And you have to tell me what to do one step at a time. Otherwise, I won't understand how to bake those lovely things that you bake. So for the language, we're thinking about simple and clear. You can do that easily. Bossy verbs. Do you remember imperative verbs? So you're telling me when to mix, when to add something, when to whisk anything, and any important detail. I think for important detail, you're talking about what I need to add. And you're thinking about how I need to make this. And in particular, I need to know if I'm cooking it in the oven, what temperature do I need to put the oven at to make sure that it cooks correctly, and how long have I got to leave it in the oven. So you're talking about when do I add ingredients and how much. So if you use the measures like a pint or a litre, that's fine. If you do it by teaspoon and tablespoon, that's also fine. So that's the language that you're looking at for doing your recipe writing. Now we're looking at the work for the Google Classroom. So if you check your classroom, you will see that I've left you 2 videos to look at, and then I've asked you to complete the quiz to do the actual recipe. And if you have time, if you can write your recipe out on a piece of paper and photograph it for WhatsApp, that would be fantastic, because I would like to write it up and send it to Ruth in Doncaster to see if we can add some of your recipes to the Doncaster cookbook. So we talk about success criteria, how to be successful. Well, this is our class on Wednesday 1st of April, which is today. So this is in Google Classroom. If you can't see any of these, send me a message in WhatsApp and I will send you a link. There's a video here that you just click on to watch. There's also a video here to click on to look at some people who are working and how they use instructions in their work. And then this is writing a recipe. So when you click on here, you should get some questions. And I would like to say well done to Awaz, who has already completed the writing a recipe form for the questions. It'd be really good if we see that recipe in full. So well done for doing that already. So when you're looking at your, we call it an assignment, it just means work, yes? Then you can see the arrow is showing you when you click on writing a recipe, you should see this. And these are the questions that you're being asked to write. And down the side, there are points. Now, because your answer is going to be different to everybody else's answer, the form doesn't give you any points. So when I go back in and look at it, I work out, have you done that correctly? 10 points. Have you named one thing that you've cooked? 10 points. Have you written ingredients? 10 points. And have you written at least 2 or 3 sentences, or as many as you can actually fit on that line, to give you 40 points. And then I will send it back to you to say how many points have you got. Now when you open this, there's a different one for each person. So when I get the information back, I can see exactly what each one of you have written. So it's important to know to don't take any notice of this whilst you're writing it, or if it gives you a cross, ignore it, because I will go back in afterwards and mark that for you. And I'm really excited about seeing the type of recipes you might use. And I really liked Awaz's recipe because she wrote something about chicken, and I'm thinking, oh well, I cook chicken, how nice it would be to add those ingredients that I don't actually use at the moment. So finding that, finishing those answers, what ingredients, have you got some instructions, what equipment did you use? So that's about your pans and any spoons. So you're just listing the equipment. You're listing, well, I had to use a saucepan or a frying pan or a cooking pot or a wooden spoon, and you just make a list. And then when you finish this one, right at the bottom, there's a blue purple coloured I don't quite sure which colour that is. Which one do you think that is? It kind of looks like purple to me. And it uses the word submit. As soon as you click on the word submit, that's sent to me and I'm able to mark it. So good luck with that bit of work, and don't forget to click submit, because this is the only thing that allows me to see your answers. So success criteria, this means how do you know if your work was any good? So this is what I'm marking you for. I can organise my ideas in chronological order. This means in the right order that they should be done. When you're cooking something, have you written the steps in the correct time order? And I think you should be able to do that quite easily. And the second one, I can write instructions to show Jane how to cook my item. This is a bigger success criteria. I think everybody will manage the first one. But for the second one, you might need to write out your recipe and photograph it into WhatsApp so that I see a fuller example. But you might find there's enough of the line to add that information. So I can write instructions to show Jane how to cook my item, because the best way to test instructions is to see, can somebody follow them? Yes, don't be shocked, Kurdistan, because it's not, when it gives you a number, that's not the correct number. What's happened is the computer can't analyse, can't look at your answer because it's different, and so it always gives naught to just say it can't mark it. So please don't worry about that. What it means is that it will then send it to me, I will mark it, and you should then get a number back that tells you how many you got out of 80, and I usually send that through your email. Now, if you would like for next week, everybody, I will show you the points that you've got so far, because you've done really, really well on the work. And it is important to not take any notice of the computer telling you it's naught. Make sure that information comes from me, because where the computer can't mark it, it automatically puts naught. I hope that makes sense, Kurdistan, so don't be shocked. Expect it now and then wait to see what mark did you get that I will allocate for you. So that's the end of today's classroom. So I'm going to say goodbye for today and see you soon. And if you've already started doing the work on the classroom, you will find that before the end of today, I will get back onto the classroom and mark that for you. And Kurdistan, I will be very interested to see what you get, because it definitely won't be naught. Okay, so just a reminder, if you're writing on the work and the computer puts a red cross and puts naught, that's because it's not, it means it's not able to mark it. That's what that cross and that naught means. And then what happens is that work gets sent to me, I will mark it, and then I send you the number out of 80 or 100 that you've got. So if you don't receive the email to say how many points you've got, please let me know. Just send me a message in WhatsApp and we will get that sorted. So I'm going to use the shortened version of goodbye. I'm going to say bye, but I'm actually going to say bye for now. Sometimes we use this phrase when we mean it is goodbye, but it's not goodbye forever. I'm going to see you in the classroom. Please feel free to send me some information. Thank you for saying thank you, Sarah. And yes, goodbye, Shanice. See you next week. Yes, I love that phrase as well. I should have said that as well, shouldn't I? See you next week, everybody. Bye now. Bye.